बैडमिंटन खेलने गया.
Hi, so my name is Prerak Sharma. Why should you listen to a Prerak who's wearing a red sweater? Most probably because I am at this moment undergoing a transformation. In 2 years, the person that I'll become, the person that I am right now, if you feel like I'm underconfident, I want this notion to change, and this notion can only be changed if I go through this phase right now. If I am underconfident right now, if I am having some problems in speaking and communicating, I will work on those things, and in 2 years, you guys will notice the transformation which I lead to. Yesterday's video is private because I need some consent of some people to upload it, and my streak hasn't broken, and today I'll start a little initiative of reading the Bhagavad Gita, the first 3 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, because I have an initiative after 2 weeks that I'm going to take. For that, this task has been given to me to read the first 3 chapters of Bhagavad Gita and try to find out some questions that I have, and so that I don't miss this activity. I've decided to do this Bhagavad Gita reading activity in the videos which I used to create on a daily basis. On the daily videos which I upload, I will be reading Bhagavad Gita from now on. So today is the first day for this initiative, and let's begin without further delay. So I'll start accordingly. Now starting with introduction. Just give me a second. Yeah, let's begin. Bhagavad Gita is best known and the most frequently translated of Vedic religious texts. Why it should be so appealing to the Western mind is an interesting question. It has drama for its setting is a scene of two great armies, banners flying drawn up opposite one another on the field poised for battle. It has ambiguity, and the fact that Arjuna and his charioteer Krishna are carrying on their dialogue between the two armies suggests the indecision of Arjuna about the basic question: should he enter the battle against and kill those who are friends and kinsmen? It has mystery as Krishna demonstrates to Arjuna his cosmic form. It has a properly complicated view of the ways of the religious life and treats of the paths of knowledge, works, discipline, and faith, and their interrelationships, problems that have bothered adherents or other religion in other times and places. The devotion spoken of is a deliberate means of religious satisfaction, not a mere outpouring of poetic emotion. Next to the Bhagwan Purana, a long work from South India, the Gita is the text most frequently quoted in the philosophical writings of the Gaudiya Vaishnava school, the school represented by Swami Bhaktivedanta as the latest in a long form succession of teachers. It can be said that the school of Vaishnavism was founded or revived by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal, and it is currently the strongest singular religious force in the eastern part of the Indian subcontinent. The Gaudiya Vaishnava school, for whom Krishna is himself the supreme god, are not merely an incarnation of another deity, sees bhakti as an immediate and powerful religious force consisting of love between man and God. Its discipline consists of devoting all one's actions to the deity, and one listens to the stories of Krishna from the other text. One chants Krishna's name, washes, bathes, and dresses the Murti of Krishna, feeds him, and takes the remains of the food offered to him, thus absorbing his grace. One does these things and many more until one has been changed. The devotee has become transformed into one close to Krishna and sees the Lord face to face. Swami Bhaktivedanta comments upon Gita from this point of view, and that is legitimate. More than that, in this translation, the Western reader has the unique opportunity of seeing how Krishna devotee interprets his own text. It is the Vedic exegetical tradition justly famous in action. This book is then a welcome addition from many points of view. It can serve as a valuable textbook for the college student. It allows us to listen to a skilled interpreter explicating a text which has profound religious meaning. It gives us insights into the original and highly convincing ideas of the Gaudiya Vaishnav school in providing the Sanskrit in both Devanagari and transliteration. It offers the Sanskrit specialist the opportunity to reinterpret or debate particular Sanskrit meanings, although I think there will be a little disagreement about the quality of the Swami's Sanskrit scholarship. And finally, for the non-specialist, there is readable English and a devotional attitude which cannot help but move the sensitive reader. And there are paintings which, incredibly as it may seem to those familiar with contemporary Indian religious art, were done by American devotees. The scholar, the student of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and the increasing number of Western readers interested in classical Vedic thought have been done a service by Swami Bhaktivedanta. By bringing us a new and living interpretation of a text already known to many, he has increased our understanding manifold, and arguments for understanding in these days of estrangement need not be made. Department of South Asian. Preface. Originally, I wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, in the form in which it is presented now. When the book was first published, the original manuscript was unfortunately cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations and without explanation for most of the original verses of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In all other of my other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Ishopanishad, etc., the system is that I give the original verse its English transliteration, word for word Sanskrit English equivalents, translations, and purports. This makes the book very authentic and scholarly and makes the meaning self-evident. I was not very happy, therefore, when I had to minimize my original manuscript, but later on, when the demand for Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably as the demand for Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form, and Messrs. Macmillan and Co. agreed to publish the complete edition. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with full parampara explanation in order to establish the Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively. Our Krishna consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural, and transcendental due to its being based on Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world, especially amongst the younger generation. It is becoming more and more interesting to the older generation also. Older gentlemen are becoming interesting, so much that the fathers and grandfathers of my disciples are encouraging us by becoming life members of our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in Los Angeles. Many fathers and mothers used to come to see me to express their feelings of gratitude for my leading the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that I have started the Krishna consciousness movement in America, but actually the original father for this movement is Lord Krishna himself, since it was started a very long time ago, but it's coming down to human society by disciplic succession. If I have any credit in this connection, it does not belong to me personally, but it is due to my internal spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupada Paramahans Parivarakacharya 108 Srimad Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada. If personally I have any credit in this matter, it was only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is without adulteration. Before my presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, almost all the English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition, but our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, philosopher, or scientist, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna despite all their other knowledge. When Krishna says mana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru, etc., we, unlike the so-called scholars, do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. Krishna is absolute, and there is no difference between Krishna's name Krishna's form, Krishna's quality, Krishna's best times, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna. Who is not a devotee of Krishna in the parampara, discipline succession system. Generally, the so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis without perfect knowledge of Krishna try to banish and or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavadi Bhasya, and Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from the Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back home, back to Godhead. Our only purpose is to present this Bhagavad Gita as it is in order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends on this planet once in a day of Brahma or every 8,600,000,000 years. This purpose is stated in Bhagavad Gita and we have to accept it as it is. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita and speak Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna first spoke Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some hundreds of million years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of Bhagavad Gita without misinterpretation. On the authority of Krishna, to interpret Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was directly understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of human society in fulfilling the mission of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is essential in human society, for it offers the highest perfection of life. How this is so explained fully in the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, mundane wranglers have taken advantage of Bhagavad Gita to push forward their demonic propensities and mislead people regarding the right understanding of the simple principles of life. Everyone should know how God or Krishna is great, and everyone should know the factual position of the living entities. Everyone should know that a living entity is eternally a servant, and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve illusion in different varieties of the three modes of the material nature, and thus perpetually one has to wander within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi speculator has to undergo this process. This knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it for his own interest. People in general, especially in this age of Kali, are enamored by the external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of material comforts every man will be happy. They have no knowledge that the material or external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent laws of material nature. A living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms. Will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this and he demands it. One has to understand this central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point, and because we are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding of Bhagavad Gita under the direct guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. Introduction. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Janana Salakaya Saksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Madhyam Dadati Swa Padantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes. With the torch of knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Rupan, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya. Give me shelter under his lotus feet. Vande ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamala Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Shagra Jatam Saha Gana Raghu Vantha Nuvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saha Gana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda along with Advait Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishakha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Paranamami Hari Priya. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold and who is queen of Vrindavan. You are like daughter of king. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchikal Pataru Bhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhya Ivasa Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all Vaishnav devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Srivas and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gitopanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in the Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English, but as far as I have seen, not only in America but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to make a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whim or the directions of a friend. It must be taken according to the directions on the label or the directions given by a physician. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself. The speaker of Bhagavad Gita is Lord Shri Krishna. He is mentioned on every page of Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagwan. Of course, the word Bhagwan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod, and certainly here Bhagwan designates Lord Shri Krishna as the great personality. But at the same time, we should know that Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all great Acharyas, spiritual masters like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord himself also establishes himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, and he is accepted as such in the Brahma Samhita and all the Puranas, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam known as the Bhagavata Puranas, Krishna's Tu Bhagavan Swayam. Therefore, we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is directed by the personality of God himself. In the 4th chapter of the Gita, Lord says, Imam Vivaswate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avayayam Vivaswan Manave Praha Manur Ikswakave Bravit Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajrasyo Vidu Sakale Neha Mahat Yogo Nasta Parantapa Sa Evayam Mayate Dya Yoga Prokta Puratana Bhakto Sime Sakha Siti Rahasyam Hai Itad Uttamam. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the sun god, and the sun god explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku, and in that way, by disciplic succession, one speak after another, this yoga system has been coming down, but in course of time it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he is relating this supreme secret to him because he is his devotee and his friend. The purport of this is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are 3 classes of transcendentalists, namely the Janani, the Jnani, the Yogi, and the Bhakta or the impersonalist, the meditator, and the devotee. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara, disciplic succession, because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the sun god to others, and it was his wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, direct student of Krishna and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna. That is to say, he must be a devotee in a direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter, but briefly it can be stated that a devotee is in a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of 5 different ways. One may be a devotee in a passive state, one may be a devotee in an active state, one may be a devotee as a friend, one may be a devotee as a parent, one may be a devotee as a conjugal lover. Arjuna was in the relationship with the Lord as a friend. Of course, there is a gulf of difference between this friendship and the friendship found in the material world. This is transcendental friendship which cannot be had by everyone. Of course, everyone has a particular relationship with the Lord, and that relationship is invoked by the perfection of devotional service. But in the present status of our life, we have not only forgotten the Supreme Lord, but we have forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord. Every living being out of many, many billions and trillions of living beings has a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. That is called Swarupa. By the process of devotional service, one can revive the Swarupa, and that stage is called Swarupa Siddhi, perfection of one's constitutional position. So Arjuna was a devotee and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. One may be a devotee in a passive state, in an active state, as a friend, as a parent. One may be a devotee as a conjugal lover. How Arjuna accepted this Bhagavad Gita should be noted. His manner of acceptance is given in the 10th chapter. So the first question which I got after reading this Bhagavad Gita is that I have 5 different ways or 5 different relationships with the Lord. Every living entity has these 5 types of relationship with the God. We all are devotees. We can be a devotee in passive state, in active state. We can be a devotee as a friend. We can be devotee as a parent. We can be devotee as a conjugal lover. So I wanted to ask sir that after reading Bhagavad Gita so many times, being in touch with Veda and scriptures for so many years, what is his relationship with the Lord? Is he a devotee? Because one has to be a devotee, one cannot be equal to Krishna, and the relationship which Arjuna had with Krishna was that of a devotee as a friend. Yashoda Maya has the relationship as a devotee, as a parent. Radharani has the devotee. Maybe Rukmani has the devotee as a conjugal laga, and passive state and active state. I wanted to know which relationship, sir, do you have with Krishna as a devotee? After so much practice, you must be knowing. If not, then also why not? And if yes, if you know after so much practice, which one? How Arjuna accepted this Bhagavad Gita should be noted. His manner of acceptance is given in the 10th chapter. Arjuna उवाच परम ब्रह्म परम धम पवित्रम परमं भावन पुरुषम सस्वतम शाश्वतम दिव्यम आदिदेवम अजम विभुम. Bhagavad Gita should be noted. His manner of acceptance. आहुस्त्वं रसाया सर्वे देवर्षिर नारदास तथा असितो देवालो व्यास स्वयं सैव ब्रवीसि मे सर्वम इताद रतम मान्ये यान मम वदसी केशवा नाहि ते भगवान व्यक्तिम विदुर देवना दानवा. Arjuna said, you are the supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. All the great sages like Narada, Asita, Deval and Vyasa proclaim this of you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the gods nor demons, O Lord, know thy personality. After hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna accepted Krishna as Param Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. Every living being is Brahman, but the Supreme Living Being or the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Brahman. Supreme Brahman. Param Dharma means that he is the supreme rest or abode of everything. Pavitram means that he is pure, untainted by material contamination. Purusham means that he is the supreme enjoyer. Divyam, transcendental. Adidevam, the supreme personality of Godhead. Ajam, the unborn. And Vibhum, the greatest, the all-pervading. Now one may think that because Krishna was the friend of Arjuna, Arjuna was telling him all this by way of flattery. But Arjuna, just to drive out this kind of doubt from the minds of the readers of Bhagavad Gita, substantiates these praises in the next verse when he says that Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead not only by himself but by authorities like the sage Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasadeva and so on. These are great personalities who distribute the Vedic knowledge as it is accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Arjuna tells Krishna that he accepts whatever he says to be completely perfect. Sarvam etad ratam manye. I accept everything you say to be true. Arjuna also says that the personality of the Lord is very difficult to understand and that he cannot be known even by the greatest demigods. This means that the Lord cannot be even be known by personalities greater than human beings. So how can a human being understand Sri Krishna without becoming his devotee? Therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in a spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even a very great personality. Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. At least theoretically, according to the statements of Bhagavad Gita or the statements of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita, we should therefore at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, and with that submissive spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. Just what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery. Just what it is, what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna was also in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna and consequently this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna but every one of us is in full of anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal, but somehow or other we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about the position as to what they are, why they are put into this awkward position, and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering but rather wants to make a solution to all suffering, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Chijnasa. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the Absolute. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering but rather wants to make a solution to all sufferings, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jigyasa. Every activity of human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the Absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they came from and where they shall go after death are proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such student was Arjuna. Lord Krishna descends specifically to re-establish the real purpose of life when man forgets that purpose. Even then, out of many, many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding his position, and for him, this Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Actually, we are all followed by the tiger of nescience, but the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance, but Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Just to this end, actually we are all followed by tiger of nescience, but the Lord is very merciful. Even then, out of many human beings, there may only be one who understands his position for him is spoken. Actually, we are all followed by the tiger of nescience, but the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance, but Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance, but Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. Then man could act accordingly and perfect the mission of human life. The subject of the Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of 5 basic truths. First of all, the science of God is explained, and then the constitutional position of the living entities, jivas. There is Ishvara, which means controller. The subject of the Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of 5 basic truths. First of all, the science of God is explained, and then the constitutional position of the living entities, jivas. There is Ishwaras, which means the controller, and there are jivas, the living entities which are controlled. If a living entity says that he is not controlled but that he is free, then he is insane. The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter deals with the Ishvara, the supreme controller, and the jivas, the controlled living entities, Prakriti, material nature, and time, the duration of existence of the whole universe or the manifestation of material nature, and karma, activity, are also discussed. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activities. All living entities are engaged in different activities. From Bhagavad Gita, we must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what Prakriti is, what the cosmic manifestation is, and how it is controlled by time, and what the activities of the living entities are. We must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what Prakriti is, what the cosmic manifestation is, and how it is controlled by time, and what the activities of the living entities are. One of these five basic subject matters in Bhagavad Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead or Krishna or Brahman or Supreme Controller or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affairs, over material nature, etc., as will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord. As Lord Krishna says, as we will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita, material nature is not independent. Material nature is not independent. She is acting under directions of the Supreme Lord. As Lord Krishna says, Prakriti is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation there is a controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. For instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite wonderful to be able to run without a horse or other animal pulling it, but the same man knows the nature of the automobile's engineering arrangement. He always knows that behind the machinery there is a man, a driver. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is a driver under whose direction everything is working. Now the jivas or the living entities have been accepted by the Lord, as we will note in the later chapters, as his parts and parcels. A particle of gold is also gold, a drop of water from the ocean is also salty, and similarly, we the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Controller, Ishvara or Bhagwan, Lord Shri Krishna, all the qualities of the Ishvara Lord or Bhagwan, Lord Shri Krishna, have all the qualities of and similarly the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Controller, Ishvara. As we are the part and parcel of the Supreme Controller, Ishvara, or Bhagwan, Lord Shri Krishna, subordinate Ishwaras, we are trying to control nature as presently we are trying to control space or planets, and this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have a tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the Supreme Controller. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. A particle of gold is also gold, a drop of water from the ocean is also salty. And similarly, we, the living entities, being part and parcel of the Supreme Controller, Ishvara, or Bhagwan, Lord Shri Krishna, have all the qualities of the Supreme Lord in minute quantity, because we are minute Ishwaras, subordinate Ishwaras. We are trying to control nature as presently we are trying to control space or planets, and this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the Supreme Controller. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. What is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as inferior Prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as the superior Prakriti. Inferior Prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as the superior Prakriti. Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is female and she is controlled by the Lord, just as the activities of a wife are controlled by the husband. Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter, 5th verse. Lord Just as the activities of a wife are controlled by the husband, Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter, 5th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Aparayam itas tvanayam. This Prakriti is my lower nature. Prakritim vidhi me param jeev bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. And beyond this, there is another Prakriti, Jeeva Bhutam, the living entity. Prakriti itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Clearly, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, and the mode of goodness. Above these modes, there is eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and have worked very hard with intelligence and have amassed a great bank balance, then I am an enjoyer. But then say I have lost all my money in business, then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work or we suffer the results. This is called karma. Prakriti itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is an eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, these modes, there is an eternal time, and by a combination of these modes of nature and under the control and purview of eternal time, there are being activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and I've worked very hard with intelligence, and then say I've lost all my money in business, then I'm a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work or we suffer the results. This is called karma. Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, eternal time, and karma are all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, material nature, and time are eternal. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false, but according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false, it is accepted as real, but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season which nourishes grains. As soon as the rainy season is over and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while, and then disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is the separated energy of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, but they are not separated. They are eternally related. So the Lord, the living entity, material nature, and time are all interrelated and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial, but we can change the results of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all those activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. The position of Ishvara is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas, or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. The position of Ishvara is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas, or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme, are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord. But one of the two, the jiva, is conscious. The other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. The position of Ishvara is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas or the living entities being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord are also conscious. Both the living entity and the material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of Supreme Lord, but one of the two, the jiva, is conscious, the other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the Jiva Prakriti is called superior because the Jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. The Lord's is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the Jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. The distinction between the Jiva and the Ishvara will be explained in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kshetrajana, Kshetragya, conscious as is the living being, but the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all bodies because he lives in the heart of every living being. He is conscious of the psychic movements of the particular jivas. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as Ishvara, as the controller, and that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as he desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes a determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in the acts and reaction of his own karmas. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body as we put on the take off old clothes, take on and take off old clothes. As the soul this migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, insanity, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions. These activities can be changed when the living being is in the mode of goodness, insanity, and understands what sort of activities he should adopt. If he does so, then all the actions and reactions of this past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the 5 items, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. Karma, Ishvara, Jeev, Prakriti, time, and karma. The jivas or the living entities being part and parcel of Supreme are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as Prakriti, the energy of the Supreme Lord, but one of the two, the jiva, is conscious, the other Prakriti is not conscious. That is the difference. Therefore, the Jiva Prakriti is called superior because the Jiva has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. The Lord is supreme consciousness, however, and one should not claim that the Jiva is living entity is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of his perfection, and the theory that he can be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. So, we reached till page 11 of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we'll continue this over the next upcoming days. I have taken this task as a duty that I have to fulfill and complete the 3 chapters of the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, the Gita Upanishad. And whatever questions that I will encounter along, I will write them down on a particular page. I will be doing these videos daily and you guys will see it, and I am accountable to post all of them daily. Thank you for watching till the end. I recite these verses and this documentation will be done through YouTube. Recitation will be in YouTube, and all the transcription, the ChatGPT model which needs to be trained, anything that can be done through these videos. It will help you all. I'm not hoping. I only do those things which carry value. And if you listen carefully, you definitely will get value, even if you just listen. This is the Bhagavad Gita, the text given by the God, by the Supreme Krishna. Even by listening to it, it creates tremendous effects and tremendous changes in your aura, in your presence, because Ishvara is inside us. He is listening to all of it. If by any chance we remember him, there is no one else who could be more happier than Krishna. He never leaves us alone, never ever. You can check in the previous videos when we discussed about how Lord helps us in every possible way. He never leaves us alone. He loves us so much. He can't leave us alone. And still He lets us do our things without interfering. This is the Leela of Lord. This is the love of Lord for us. We might forget Him, but He doesn't forget anyone. Not just me, all the bodies, every living entities in this universe. So this was day 1 of Bhagavad Gita, and probably day 26 or 27 or day 25 of the series which I have started. I didn't realize that 50 minutes have passed. This is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. And I am ready to give the time that it is taking. In extreme conditions, I'll condition it to 20 minutes. But if, like today, it took 50 minutes, I'm okay with it. In the end, I would like to chant the Mahamantra. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. By this, now I like to end this session. The main goal is the same, to improve my communication skills. To improve my communication skills and be specific to the point, I have to improve my brain. And to improve my brain, I have to know myself. To know myself, I will read the manual which is given by God, by Lord itself. So this is the plan from now on. Any changes in the guideline, in the roadmap ahead, will be told to you in the upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching it till the end, if you are still here. Thank you so much. We'll meet tomorrow again. Till then, signing off, Prerak Sharma. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Bye.